Charisma Quotient. I'm your host, Kim Seltzer, a dating and makeover expert, where I will help you build confidence, make connections, and find love from the outside in. I'm back doing another episode of Where Are They Now? And for those of you who've never heard these episodes before, I'm going to recap. As you know, I coach a lot of people. And of course, you have heard me coaching people live on this podcast with my Coaching with Kimmy episodes. And I also have a ton of clients who I send off into the world after coaching with them. And it's so amazing and rewarding when I hear countless success stories and read thousands of emails of previous clients updating me on how their life has improved and often how they find love. So I do these Where Are They Now episodes to inspire and motivate you by hearing what happens to people after I work with them. And whether that is on a podcast or just working with them over time as clients, I hope you listen to these and get inspired by people's successes and know that success can happen to you too. And it all starts with a call. Everybody's always invited to hop on a call with me to see how I can map things out for you and just get started with this area of your life. So today I am bringing on a beautiful woman. Her name is Rachel, who I met. I couldn't believe this. I was looking back in my notes. One of my first flirt workshops, it was 4 years ago. It's almost I think about it because when you see her today, she's almost irrecognizable, to be honest. She decided to coach with me after hopping on a free breakthrough call that I offer after my workshops. And when we first spoke, she was having difficulties finding the right man and breaking some patterns, attracting narcissists. And at the time, she just started dating a man, but still had concerns about the relationship. And she knew that she fell into a pattern of getting attached and attracted to men. Maybe she was attacked, love bombed. That was probably more accurate, to men where there was a lot of sexual attraction and excitement, and it would just move really fast. And in the end, they would either ghost her or not really be committed. And she also struggled with anxiety and issues around abandonment. So she would find herself getting attached too soon, too fast. Rachel had difficulties demanding more for herself and expressing her desires and feelings. And what's more, she definitely had a hard time flirting and seeing herself as sexy confident. And you will not believe, if you're watching this on YouTube, you're not going to believe that this is a girl who did not feel sexy confident. As we worked together, I was helping Rachel practice standing up for herself and really seeing and owning her self-worth. And she ended up doing both private coaching and a co-ed dating retreat where she really put all this into practice. And she got a whole new wardrobe. She got a whole new set of pictures, which increased her sexy confidence, began to practice being more vulnerable. She was really starting to pace things out with men and leading with more emotional connection rather than relying on the sexual chemistry. She slowly learned to share more about herself on dates and be more vulnerable. And most of all, really get her flirt on. Her transformation was incredible, especially seeing her shine at the dating retreat with her new sexy confidence. The biggest shift was her ability to get out of her head and decrease her worry and anxiety about the future, and instead really practice being in the moment and enjoy the connections. And because of all that, she attracted this awesome guy into her life, and she's extremely happy. And he seems different than a lot of the other men that she has dated before, but I will let her tell you the rest. Welcome, Rachel.
Hi.
Hi, beautiful. I still can't believe that once upon a time you didn't know how to flirt or feel sexy, because my God, look at you now.
I was a different person. I really
You,
was.
I mean, is that weird to hear that life as I was playing it back to you?
Yeah, I was like, who is that person? I don't even recognize that person anymore.
I know it really is profound. So I mean, obviously I recap, but I would love to have you share what life was like back then, if you can remember, and what even like prompted you to get help? Like, what was going on during that time?
Well, I'd been through just a string of bad relationships where I was definitely attracting the wrong kind of energy. And it was almost like a magnet. Like if there was a guy in the vicinity that was emotionally unavailable or narcissistic, I was just like, okay, boom, we're gonna meet and we're gonna date. And it was
I'm in.
terrible. Yeah, I'm in. And it was like I wanted to fix them, but also I was the one that probably, needed some help in that department. And so that's why I kind of came to you, is I wanted to break that pattern and sort of get out of my head. Exactly what you were saying is that I was very, very in this, like the minute I would meet someone, like, oh, is this the person I'm going to marry? Are we going to be together forever? What does he do for a living? Like, what's his situation? Like, and it was very frenetic and not calm and maybe not like, I don't know. I just wasn't in the right space to attract love and to attract somebody who also was looking for what I was looking for at that time.
Yeah, and I do remember, like, even in our conversations in the very beginning, how there was also a lot of fear. Do you
Mhm.
remember that? Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely afraid to go out and flirt with a guy. I thought, I mean, you would tell me, oh, yes, you can do this. You can go to a bar and just talk to a guy. And I was like, what are you talking about? That is never going to happen. I've never, ever would in my entire life would I do that, which is funny because I met the guy that I'm now dating from speed dating. So it was
Oh my God,
exactly
wait.
that.
I love that so much. And never in a million years would I think that that would have been you back then, right? And so,
It
yeah, okay,
wasn't.
we'll
Yeah.
get into that story, a little bit. But yeah, and I also feel like, you were talking about fears of abandonment as well. And, do you want to share a little bit where that was coming from too?
So probably, because my parents were divorced and that kind of set a pattern of like, oh, are people going to stay? Are they going to go? And then dating lots of people where it didn't uh, remain, they didn't stay. And it was kind of like we would date for this short amount of time and things seemed so great in the beginning, like, oh, this is so much fun. The guy is awesome. But then it would be like, okay, and see you later. And ghosted or just kind of like it fizzled out. And I think it was because I was wanting it too much. And I was more like, oh, I think every conversation I would analyze, well, what did that mean when he said this? What did that mean? And instead of just being like, oh, go with the flow, have a good time, be in the moment, in the element of, your femininity. And I kind of also forgot how to do that. As a
Mhm.
teacher, I have to be a certain way where you're in control and you're dressed not at all sexy. And it's very, very much the opposite. And so also learning how to turn that off and be on a date and be in a completely different energy.
I love that you brought that up too about, being a teacher and having kind of that anxiety, where you were trying to, just glob on to something to make you feel secure. And, and I do remember those conversations when we were talking about your past and your parents. And, it's always, rooted in something that starts way, way early on. But the irony of it is exactly what you said. It's like the very thing you feared, you ended up attracting, and part of it had to do with that energy that you had, that desperation, that attachment. And those kind of guys liked it in the beginning, right? Like they kind of hooked you with that. And
That's
so,
exactly right. Yeah.
right. And then, like learning how to slow down and really, kind of just be.
Hmm. And that's the biggest shift.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And so then and I think there was another transformation that you had because there was a pause in between our coaching. Like you had dated that one guy and you want to talk a little bit about, that and the healing from that?
So I now have a daughter who is amazing. She's 2.5. She is at the definitely the love of my life. But her dad is the person we're talking about. And he and I had dated on and off for a while. And every time we would start to date and I would get excited about it, I was like, oh, things are going well. The minute I thought that was the second he'd be like, let's have a conversation. Let's lay all our cards on the table. I don't know if I'm really feeling it. And it was like over and over and over again. And then when I thought, okay, well, now I'm having a child with this person, we thought, let's move in together and make it better. Oh, that was a bad idea. But in the very beginning, I kind of needed his help with, raising an infant.
Mm.
But it definitely didn't go well. And I mean, it just got worse and worse and worse, in fact, and to the point where I had to say, you need to leave. Like
Mm.
this cannot continue. I mean, it was horrible. So somebody who was very critical and very thought he did everything right and that I did everything wrong. And there were many issues in the relationship that were not good. So it took a while for me to get out of that and figure out like, okay, where do I need to go from here and what kind of changes do I need to make in my life and give it time, because it was the father of my child. So he's still going to be in my life forever, albeit now we're very good friends and we actually get along great now that we're not dating each other. And he's a wonderful father to my daughter. So that turned out well, but I mean, dating was a disaster with him. So just
Yeah.
never
You know,
good.
one thing that I didn't share in the beginning when I was doing the recap, and I'm getting chills as you're talking about this. I actually wrote down on the very first call that we had, you one of your dreams, because remember I was asking like, what do you want? One of your dreams was to have a child.
True.
I know. And so it's such a gift. It's so beautiful. And I always say, like, even relationships that don't work out, you learn from, you grow from, and you get something out of it. And boy, did you get something out of it. And
Yes.
yeah, and I think another thing that I started seeing you really work on, and I know that it's always like a journey with it, is really understanding how to share your thoughts, your feelings, so that you can attract someone who can really listen and care and give
Yeah.
that back to you. You want to share that too?
Yeah. I mean, I know I used to be kind of, I don't know how to describe it, but almost like shy around guys to the point where
Yeah.
like if I had to pass them, I would make like this little, like kind of face like, oh, sorry. And I'm like, and it's interesting. My ex said he hated that. He was like, why do you do that? You don't need to do that. Like just, you know, and I thought, whoa, that's weird that I used to do that. Like looking back, I was like, oh, I'm just like, move out of the way or excuse me, instead of like, oh, sorry. It's a completely different feeling. And so it's just so weird to think back to who I was and how things
Well,
used to
and
be.
the thing is about that, I love that example, by the way, is that how your body language was, like reflecting how you felt. You were so riddled with fear and
Mhm.
anxiety and kind of like in this protective mode and doing that gesture with your body language and like it was almost like you were trying to dodge bullets, literally. And
Mhm.
it's so beautiful that you've been able to let go of that and just be so open and happy. And
It
it's
took some
amazing.
work, but yes,
I was gonna
absolutely.
say, well, let's talk
It
about
wasn't
that work.
overnight.
Yeah. Yeah, because I'm sure like people are watching you or listening to this and be like, well, she's so beautiful. Like it's probably easy for her. And so let's talk about the work that you did because it wasn't easy. And you and I had worked together for a while. So what
Mhm.
kinds of things that felt really helped you along the way while we were coaching together?
Well, I appreciated doing the one-on-one calls because we could update each other about how things were going and I could get feedback from you. Like if I was about to go on a date with somebody for the first time, you might say, use the checklist of thinking about pros and cons, or I forgot exactly what it was, but things that you liked about the person and
The
things that
costs
were
and the benefits.
costs and benefits.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's right. And just like an emotional and like analysis of like, do you feel like you've got chemistry with this person? I mean, looking beyond the physical and looking beyond the superficial, it was kind of like get into the meat of it a little bit more and really figure things out. as you go forward in dating, and just have fun. I mean, that was maybe the number one thing, was like stopping in your head, have a good time, and just enjoy the process, and don't worry about like, is this a forever thing?
I think that was one of your biggest shifts. And that's why I was like saying that in the beginning. Do you remember just what worked for you? Because there's so many people who are probably listening to this who are in their head, whether it's because they're more like high achievers or analytical, or even just like have that anxiety. Like, what really helped you?
Well, I have anxiety for sure. So I can
Yeah.
definitely relate to anyone that is going through that. And so it was kind of a bunch of different things that you taught us. So one of them was put on some really fun music, like while you're getting ready to get out of your head and just to get into like a feeling excited about the date. Dressing in something really cute. I mean, we talked a little bit about what works for your body and different colors that kind of attract, which red and pink were, I guess, high on the list. And here I am wearing it.
I know.
And just I don't know, dance around in your living room totally by yourself, just before the date, be silly, just be vulnerable, and try to be, just be open.
Yeah. And I don't know if you remember this moment. Something that really like caused a shift in my mind for you was when you went to the dating retreat. I'll
Hmm.
never forget, like, the girl that walked through the door. There was still a lot of uncertainty. I could see you being kind of stiff, and the whole dancing thing was like, "Oh
Oh,
my God, you're gonna make me
it was my
dance."
biggest
And
nightmare.
yeah, and I remember because, there's a part where we're just, sitting in the conference room and we're learning things, and I just remember you constantly, like, worried about what's next and what the assignment was gonna be and what was the purpose, and do you remember that? And
Yeah,
then
I think because I went into student mode, and
yes.
as an actual student, I was like taking notes, and like,
Right,
I wanted to like get an A or something.
right, right,
Really,
and
yeah. And
I
I had very much had walls up in the beginning.
You did, and it was so cool to see those walls break down slowly as, the retreat happened, and, letting your walls down with the men in the room, and then actually dancing the night away and having so much fun. And there's a video that I shared with you that kind of recapped that whole weekend, and you were the star, like going from somebody who was like scared to even look at herself and be sexy was this like amazing like movie star in the video. And
I didn't want to put on that pink dress, that one
I
that was,
know.
so sexy. And I thought, oh, this isn't me. Oh, I don't like my arms, or I don't like this or that. I thought, oh, I'm not as, skinny as I used to be, whatever, before I had kid. But then but then every single person there was like, no, that's you. You got to wear that one. That's the one. And I was like, are you sure? Are you sure? And then like I wore it, and I was like, oh, this is fine. What was I worried about? I don't like, it's okay. I can handle this.
It was so beautiful. I'm glad you remembered that moment too, because I think that was just a metaphor of what was really going on so much as you were dating, like just,
Mm.
wondering what these guys thought, or, wondering if you were good enough, or worried about just how you looked. You like all this worry in your head, and for you to get that validation and to just like it was like the self-acceptance that ended up happening that weekend that was just
Yeah.
so beautiful. And I just saw you like relax into your body by day 3. So, I mean, I think between our sessions and then integrating it and putting into practice at the retreat with all the feedback that you were getting, because it's one thing if I tell you that, but like when you have 15 other people telling you, it lands differently.
It was so great to be able to meet them in real life, because we'd done all the virtual sessions where you see each other on Zoom, but it's kind of like you don't really get a full picture of who the person is until you meet in person and interact with them. And so being able to form the bond that, before we came to the retreat, over the weeks that we spent in the virtual sessions. So we felt like we knew each other, but it was still like meeting each other for the first time in real life was a whole other thing. And I feel like it's easier to be vulnerable when it's not total strangers. These are
Yeah.
people that are also going through what you're going through, and you have their back and they have your back, and it's kind of like this really nice reciprocal relationship.
It was awesome. And
And we're still all in touch. In fact, one of them is going to visit me soon. So it's like we're
oh
still
my God,
friends.
I know. And you guys went to Vegas without me, which I
We did.
love. I love it. I'm like, I was like a proud mama over there. It's like, yes,
Oh,
the kids are still like together and playing.
yeah.
So it is special. And how would you recap how all this experience then helped you when went back home and you started dating? Like, talk a little bit about that, how that transformation then applied to your dating life.
I I felt like I came home a transformed and completely different person. I mean, I was just in line at the airport to come home, and this guy was like checking me out, and I thought this is so weird. And then I then saw him at the other side of the when I got to Seattle, and he was getting off the plane at the same time I was getting off the plane, and he just struck up a conversation. He's like, "Hi, I really love your energy. I just feel like you're such an interesting person. Like, do you want like?" He's like, "I'd love to take you out on a date," and I was like, "What?" Going on? And
I
this was
love that.
just going home. And I thought, wow, something has changed. I don't know what it is, but it's different. Um, so that was pretty awesome. But um, yeah, I mean, it is easy to slip back into your everyday routine. And like, I'm a mom, and it's so like, oh, okay, I'm not gonna get dressed up if I'm just taking care of my daughter, these kinds of things. But I did take some of that away. So when I started doing the online, or I didn't want to do online dating anymore. I didn't like the apps. They were just because I didn't feel like I got a full picture of who the people really were. You don't
Hmm.
know what they sound like. You don't know what their mannerisms are. And so I thought maybe meeting people in real life at this speed dating thing where you mingle with different people at a bar and just have all these mini conversations would be a better thing for me. And so I thought, okay, I'm gonna wear the pink. I'm gonna bring my feminine energy. I'm gonna remember our little sparkly bracelets that we had in the special heart
Wait,
necklace.
look at, I'm wearing the heart for you.
Oh, she
Yes.
wore mine.
Yes. For those of you who are watching on YouTube, I gave everybody the women necklaces, and it's something that like will be like a memory for you to always ground you. But yeah, continue. That's
So
great.
like that's right. And so I brought all the things that you had taught me, and I thought, let's go into this like just like it casual, just have a good time, just talk to some people. It doesn't have to be anything serious at all. It's just get to know some new men and practice flirting, and it was actually really fun. And I thought, like before I was like, oh, I could never ever do that. I would never. I mean, I was adamant that I could not do it, and yet there I was, and I was having a great time. And so I met many people through the event, and I went to two total. So the first time I sort of matched with some people, and I went on one date that didn't pan out, which was totally fine. I was just like, well, whatever. And then the second event is where I met Chris.
Oh,
And he was the first person that I talked to, both of us. We were the first match. And by the end of the night, both of us were like, I just wanted to talk to you the whole night. I could have just not gone on any other of those dates. And he's like, there were some nice people there. I said, same here, but I just wanted to talk to you. And so we hung out for a little bit after the event, and he walked me to my car, and it was like there was the start of, our dating.
wow. Oh
Yeah.
God. I love, and I didn't even know this before we hopped on here, how you met.
Oh,
I love the story so much. And so now that you've been dating him, how does this feel different than the other guys? And how are you different?
I'm just way calmer. I am not, freaking out about where it's going. I mean, eventually I would love for it to turn into something more.
Mhm.
But for the meantime, I'm very, very happy just how it's going, taking it slow, more, but we've done some very fun things together. We went on a ski trip one weekend for the whole weekend, and we're doing that again this weekend, actually. And he plays hockey. And so we went on a date where he taught me how to ice skate.
Oh,
And
that's
I was
so
like, I want you to go zooming around like really fast because you do hockey. And he's like, oh, I don't want to show off. And I was like, no, 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 I want to see it. And he's like, okay, one loop, but and I was like, whoa. And I'm like holding on to the edge.
oh my
But he's
God.
like, I got you. And so then he was like holding my hand and we were trying to ice skate. And in the movies, it looks so romantic and like, oh, they're ice skating together. But in reality, I was like, just don't fall down. Just
Yeah.
don't fall down. I was like wobbly.
Yeah.
But maybe that was being vulnerable with him. Like, hey, I'm not really good at this, but thanks for being patient with me.
Oh, do you feel like you're sharing more with him?
I
You know,
do.
like,
I feel like I'm a lot more open and we both have kids and we've both been through marriages and divorce. And so I feel like maybe we understand each other in a kind of a different way. I'd been dating a lot of guys that had never had children, which is
mhm.
they're great too, but just I don't know if they quite understood what it means to be a mom and the kind of responsibilities that come with it. But he and I have that in common, so we do. But yeah, he's a different type of person than I've dated. He feels like a more grounded, um, he grounds me. Like he's able to, when we have conversations, we could talk about anything and nothing. And we just one time on TV, or like there was a movie that was on that we thought had potential and it turned out to be the worst movie we've ever seen, but we thought it was so funny how terrible it was that we watched the whole thing and made fun of it the entire time.
Oh,
And so
you know
just
what's so I feel like you guys just listening to you are just having fun together too. And what a nice thing to not have to be in
yeah.
your head about it and worry about where it's going, to just really enjoy each other and getting to know. Because the more you're in that moment, the more present you are, the more focused you'll be also for each other.
Yeah, I think he's one of the best guys that I've dated in, many recent years. So they're just things feel different. So thank you.
Oh, well, you're welcome. And thank you. I mean, thank you for doing the work and seeing yourself as something that is important, right? Because there's a lot of people who might listen and or in pain or in anxiety and they don't do anything about it because they're scared. And I was going to ask you, like,
Hmm.
if somebody is listening to this and they are in that state, what would you say to them to get the help they need?
Well, there's hope. I mean, I was there for sure. And I mean, working with you definitely helped me in that regard. But yeah, I mean, um, don't know that you're not alone. Know
Mm,
that there's so many people that are in the exact same situation and don't give up. Keep
yeah.
trying, don't lose faith that there's somebody out there for you and that the right person's going to come along. But yeah, absolutely.
That's beautiful. And also, I think people are scared to just invest in themselves in that way.
Hmm.
And, I know it takes a leap of faith. It's not like buying a car or, buying a computer or something tangible, but,
Yeah.
maybe you could speak to just how the investment was for you too.
So yeah, I mean, I hadn't bought a new wardrobe in a while, and
Yeah.
it was something I thought, I could use some help with. And so we did a one-on-one session with where you looked at some items that were in my wardrobe and talked about what you thought would fit, like work for me. And you actually sent me some options like from, I don't know, some different stores and so that I could click on those and choose which one I liked and order those if I wanted to, and then that not endorsed by you at all, just totally unaffiliated with,
Right.
with your
Right. Right.
podcast. It was just like, here are some things that I think would look
Mhm.
good on you. And I did end up buying several of those and and I thought, it's like you're worth it. And it takes some time to get into the mindset of like, okay, it is worth, investing in yourself because otherwise you're just going to go along your path exactly the same as you have been forever and never change anything. And well, that wasn't working for me. So clearly it was the time to make a change.
Yeah.
So
I love that. I'm into that. I mean, thank
Hmm.
God you did, because look at you now. And I'm not surprised that you attracted somebody who is totally different than any
Yeah.
guy that you had before, because it's a pure reflection of you. I mean, you're putting something out that's different. And so you're getting back something different. And that is
Yeah.
super cool.
He's a good communicator. He texts me, a couple times a week. We are not people that need to every single day. Good
Mm-hmm.
morning, how are you? No, it's like, a couple times a week because we both have lives.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh, just checking in. How are you doing today? How's your day going? What's going on with your weekend or whatever? And looking forward to seeing you again. These kind of texts are really just nice to have. And it's like, okay, he's thinking about me, but he's not smothering me and I'm not smothering him.
You know what's embedded in that is also trust, if you think
Hmm.
about that, because you're finally trusting yourself and you're trusting him,
Hmm.
knowing that you don't need that constant contact to get assurance anymore, that
Hmm.
even if things don't work out, that you still have you.
Yeah.
That's to me the biggest shift in you. And that's why I think, like you feel calmer and more grounded.
Yeah, it feels really good. It feels really positive just to know that there's are men out there that are like this. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when I was trying to find, I don't have the best sense of direction always, so I rely on my GPS quite a bit. And so when I was trying to find the Airbnb, we were doing our ski trip where we were staying, I got turned around. My GPS was not working well, and then just here, so I called him and I said, "Hey, Chris, I think I'm lost." And he was like, "Stay calm. Like, where are you? Let me see if I can like get you the directions." And he like walked me through it step by step, and it just like, just like kind of lowered my anxiety and the fact that he can be calm when I was nervous or upset was
Mhm.
fantastic. And I thought, this is the kind of a person I need in my life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh gosh. Well, Rachel, I'm so happy for you. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. And it's fun to see you after 4 years, the butterfly that you've become.
What a difference. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, Kimmy. I don't know. I definitely could not have done this without you and your guidance and support. And I mean, I think definitely choosing to do the retreat and the
Mhm.
Zoom meetings was probably the best thing for me, the best thing I could have done.
Yeah.
I definitely wouldn't be where I am today without the care and support of all of those people. And we still continue to, connect with one another and support one another. So you
So
got
awesome.
that going.
Well, to be continued. I'll be excited to see where this goes. But in the meantime, I'm so happy for you and thanks again.
Thank you so much.
So, thanks for joining me today. This has been the Charisma Quotient. I'm your host, of course, Kimmy Seltzer. And remember, you can build confidence, make connections, and find love from the outside in. Make sure you go to my site, kimmyseltzer.com, to see ways that I can help you with that. And if you think you are an awful flirt, know that you need to find an alter ego or a costume, so to speak, to boost your sexy confidence, then I have just the thing for you that will put you in that state of action. So I have a new co-ed workshop coming up and it's called Unleash Your Sexy Confidence, where you will learn to embody the art of attraction and chemistry. So if you're tired of feeling stuck in your dating life or you're struggling to create chemistry and attraction when you're on the dates, and maybe you just wish you had more sex appeal, then definitely check out this workshop coming up. And it's coming up soon. And just go to stophatingdating.com, register now, take action, because I have a feeling spots are going to go fast on this one. It is a hot topic. And remember, working on you is working on your dating life. That's all for now.